My name is Deb, and I'm one of the lucky ones. When I was 32, I had inherited a little bit of money and decided I was probably never going to have an engagement ring. So I went into a jewelry store because I saw a ring that I really loved and decided I would buy it for myself. And Joel was the jeweler. He said, "Would you like to go out to dinner?" And I said, I was attracted to Joel immediately because he had classic male pattern baldness. He was 6 foot tall, piercing brown eyes, broad shoulders, very, very athletic. He had such a beautiful head, and he was so confident in his looks. Our favorite song to dance to was "In the Mood." We loved to dance. I met Joel in May and we got married in August. He basically told me, "Well, we're going to get married." And I said, "Really?" And he said, "Yeah." So that's how we got engaged. Joel had just such a zest for life. He loved living more than anyone I've ever met. He would sing to me, and he had a beautiful voice, but he could never remember all the lyrics. And so he'd play them over and over and over again. He would say, "I'm doing the best I can." We had one son, Logan, who is now 26. Our son came to us as a surprise, and of course it was the most wonderful surprise that anybody could ever get. About 15 years ago, a letter arrived in the mail, and it was from a woman explaining to Joel that she was his daughter. She was from a small town in Indiana, and she was the daughter of a woman that my husband dated very briefly in college. She apparently found out she was pregnant at exactly the same time that Joel left to go to Vietnam, and she had the baby by herself. I received this wonderful news that I gained a daughter. Stephanie was very much a part of his life. They became extremely close. She looked like him, she walked like him, she talked like him. So I was given this fabulous gift courtesy of my husband, and for that I will always be extremely grateful. Joel was diagnosed with advanced stage 4 prostate cancer in his 50s. He actually lived with his disease for 12 years. They had given me an 18-month diagnosis second year in, and he fought valiantly. He never, ever once in his 12-year battle complained. He never said, "Why me?" Joel had a passion for automobiles. At one time, he owned probably 10 cars. Cars were always coming and going in our lives, and inevitably they were always breaking down. He never bought new cars, he bought vintage European, and at least on a weekly basis I would get a phone call, "Deb, can you come and get me? I'm on the East Road," or "Deb, can you come and get me? I'm in the city." And it used to drive me crazy. This is the last of Joel's toy cars. It's a souped-up Miata. His favorite thing in the world was to sidle up to somebody on the highway in a big expensive sports car and blow their doors off with this little rocket. People often ask those of us who have lost loved ones, do they come back to us in some form or another? And I am absolutely positive that Joel visits me regularly as a hawk. We used to kid around in life, and he would say, "You're coming back as a cat," and I would always say, "You're coming back as a bird of prey." And every time I do something, move something of his, sell something of his, a hawk shows up. A gentleman wanted to buy this car. He loved it. And he looked at the car very carefully and asked if my husband, showed himself to me every now and then. So I told him about the hawk. That day on the way home, he was in his truck apparently going back to his workshop, and my phone rang, and he was absolutely hysterical. And he said, "You can't believe it, I'm on Route 17 heading south, and there's a hawk flying right next to my car." He said, "I looked over at the hawk and our eyes met, and then he flew off." He said, "It is absolutely the eyes of your husband. I know it was him."